Hey there guys, welcome back to Cujo06241 Sports Vlog. This is my 25th installment and the first one of 2015. I know we're all happy that it's finally 2015. I know we're excited to be here. But before I play my theme song, there is something that I want to address. This past Sunday, we lost a very good man and one of the best analysts and anchorman that ESPN could ever have had. I am, of course, talking about Stuart Scott. He died this past Sunday at the age of 49. He died of cancer, and I don't want to say he lost his battle to cancer, because it's like he said in his ESPY speech, you don't lose your fight to cancer because others will keep fighting. So I don't want to say that he lost his battle to cancer, but I do want to say that my sympathies, condolences, and my thoughts are with him and his family. He's a very great man, very inspirational, and it's always a terrible thing when this planet loses a good person. But Stuart Scott, rest in peace. We love you, and we're gonna miss you. Hey guys, welcome back. You might notice I'm rocking my Red Wings jersey today. That's because I love it. It's awesome. It's Pavel Datsyuk, number 13. And yeah, you can't hate Datsyuk. You just can't. He's impossible to hate. Unless you hate the Red Wings, in which case you can hate him if you want. Anyway, got a lot to talk about today, and so without further ado, let's get started. Alright, let's talk some college football playoffs. Playoffs! We're going to talk about some college football playoffs! That's my Jim Mora impersonation. I like it. Okay, so Oregon smashed Florida State 59-20, which is awesome because I absolutely hate Jameis Winston. And, yeah, and I wanted to see Florida State lose. Before I move on, I want to mention Jameis Winston is actually entering the NFL draft. Well, according to his dad, he is. You know what? Whatever. He can go ahead and get drafted by the New York Jets and get broken in half. I don't fucking like him anyway. He's an asshole. He's a pig, and he fucking makes men look bad. So yeah, I don't really like that guy. Anyway, Florida State got destroyed. Oregon advances to the national championship against Ohio State. Yeah, that's right. Ohio State beat Alabama 42-35. Now, let me make one thing clear. I hate Ohio State, and I don't like Urban Meyer the least bit. But I'm sick of the SEC. I really am. Call me a hater. I don't care. I'm sick and tired of the SEC getting a national championship shot every year. Well, now it's over. I'm a Michigan fan, so of course I wanted the Big Ten to win as many bowl games as they could, and even if that means I have to root for Sparty and Ohio State, which they both won. So now the national championship is this Monday, which is January 12th. Also is when Eye Candy comes to MTV, and I'm really excited for that. But that's another story. So yeah. Now, before I move on to some Michigan news, here's a little fact for you guys. Now, I learned this last week while I was watching the Bengals and Colts game. The very first Final Four came down to Oregon and Ohio State. Now, this is back in like the early 30s, I think 1934. Don't quote me on that. I don't know when the first Final Four tournament was, but the very first college basketball Final Four came down to Oregon and Ohio State. Now, in 2015, it's going to come down, the first college football playoffs comes down to Oregon and Ohio State again. History has a funny way of repeating itself, now doesn't it? Alright, time to move on to some Michigan news. They have a new defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, who, now if you don't know who that is actually Florida's defensive coordinator. That's fucking awesome. Florida has had a pretty good defense over the last few years. And Durkin did say he was waiting for Jim Harbaugh to make his decision. I believe I mentioned that. I think I mentioned that Florida's defensive coordinator was waiting on Jim Harbaugh. So he did. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh accepted the job, and now DJ Durkin is a Michigan man. Greg Madison is also remaining at Michigan as, I think, an assistant to DJ Durkin, maybe a linebacker coach. I have no idea. But I know Greg Madison stays, so that's really awesome, too, because Greg Madison was the defensive coordinator for Michigan the last few years, and I really do like that guy. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, so it'll be cool to see these two matched up together. They also got Tyrone Wheatley, who is a former Michigan running back, as a running backs coach. It's all coming together now. And Jim Harbaugh announced today that his biggest concern, offensive line. Music to my ears, because without a good offensive line, how can you have a good quarterback? How can you have a good running back? You really can't. Offensive line is one of the more underrated positions, in my opinion. And Michigan's O-line, not so good over the past couple of years. Seems like after Taylor Lewan and Jake Long left, there hasn't really been a lot of impact O-linemen coming out of Michigan. So, yeah, it's cool to see Jim Harbaugh is addressing an issue. And it's cool to see he's putting together a great coaching staff. I am really looking forward to this upcoming college football season. So let's talk about the NFL playoffs. Oh, you still here? Roll the clip.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Okay, well, Detroit lost to Dallas 24-20. You know what? I did predict that Dallas would win, but this was definitely a game surrounded by controversy. There was a pass interference call on Dallas that should have been called, but then Dez Bryant runs out onto the field with his helmet off and screams at the ref. Now that should have been a flag as well. That should have been 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct. On top of that, the pass interference call should have stood. The Lions should have had the ball inside Dallas's 15, and they had a 20-17 lead at this time. So if this all went the way it should have, the Lions probably should have won this game. Now notice I said probably, because we don't know for sure what would have happened on the next play. For all we know, Matt Stafford could have thrown an interception. Reggie Bush or Joey Bell could have fumbled the ball. Anything could have happened. But here's what really happened. The refs picked up the flag. No flag was thrown on Dez Bryant, even though there should have been. And Dallas got away with a fucking penalty.
Of course!
After that, Lions just fell apart. They had a couple of bad penalties. They basically handed Dallas the game after that. Now, I'll say this. When that pass interference flag was picked up, It was 4th and 1. They should have just went for it. They should have just handed the ball to Joique Bell and had him busted up the middle for 2 or 3 yards or whatever. They really shouldn't have gave the ball back to Dallas, because to me that was a big mistake. Dallas drove it down, scored, and now Dallas is moving on to Green Bay. Now my playoff predictions last week were pretty crappy. I only got one right, and ironically enough, it was the one I wanted to get wrong. Baltimore beat Pittsburgh and is now going to New England. That game is Saturday at 4:35 Eastern Timing on NBC. My prediction as to who's going to win that game, well, you guys know I'm a Patriots fan, so of course I am going to predict a New England Patriots victory. Hopefully. I'm not promising anything. I'm not guaranteeing anything. This is going to be a really good game. Tom Brady is 1-2 against Baltimore in the postseason. All 3 games were in Foxborough, so this is not a game that's going to be really easy for New England, and it's not going to be easy for Baltimore. I'm expecting a pretty tight game, but in the end, I got to go with New England. I can't go against them. The second game that day, NFC, Carolina beat Arizona, which is, of course, something I did not predict. I thought Arizona's defense would have won that game for them. And obviously Dallas beat Detroit and goes to Green Bay. But this Saturday, it is going to be Carolina heading over to Seattle. That game is at 8:15 Saturday night on Fox. And I'm going to go with Seattle. Just because their defense. I know I said that last week, but Seattle's not running on a third-string quarterback. So I definitely got to go with the Seahawks on that one. And I'm not really convinced that Carolina is any good. I mean, they beat Arizona pretty impressively, but I'm not a believer. I don't think Carolina's all that good. On Sunday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Timing, on Fox we have Dallas and Green Bay. Now this is going to be a really good game as well. This is going to be a clash of the undefeateds. Dallas went 8-0 on the road. Green Bay was 8-0 at home. So this is going to be one of the best games this weekend. In the end, though, I got to go with Green Bay. You know what? I don't care. I thought Dallas definitely got lucky. They got the benefit of, I think 5 or 6 extra players wearing those black and white uniforms. Yeah, I don't care. I'm blaming the refs for why Dallas won. And finally, we have Sunday at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Timing on CBS. We have Indianapolis and Denver. Now, Indianapolis beat Cincinnati last week, and A.J. Greenless Cincinnati, but that doesn't matter. Indianapolis won. I almost said Indiana for some reason. But Indianapolis won. They looked really good. And at first I was thinking Denver was going to win this, but now that I think about it, Peyton Manning has not, he did not look good at all in the last few weeks of the regular season. Now, Andrew Luck didn't look any good either, but this past Sunday against Cincinnati, well, he tore it up. So, safe to say Andrew Luck's found his zen, his key. And I'm just not convinced that Peyton Manning will win this game. So I'm going to go on the upset here, and I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Denver Broncos. Those are my predictions, guys. What are your predictions for this weekend's AFC, NFC playoff showdowns? Let me know in the comment section below, or hit me up on Twitter. Alright guys, I have some baseball news for you. Yes, finally, after 2 weeks, it's been 2 weeks, and I finally got some Tigers baseball news for you. Alright, Detroit signs lefty relief pitcher Tom Gorzalani, that's how it's pronounced, to a 1-year deal. Now, the Tigers have needed a left-handed pitcher in that bullpen for a while. I said that a week ago when I put the question out there, but the Tigers need a lefty bullpen pitcher more than anything right now. Well, looks like my prayers have been answered. And this Tom Gorzalani guy he's no slouch. He's 32 years old, and last year, in 23 appearances, 23, I think that's how much he had. 23 appearances, he had a .86 ERA. And now he's working his way back from shoulder surgery, but this came after he worked his way back. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks. I just said Milwaukee Bucks. What the fuck? Oh my god. Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks. He played for the Bucks. And he was so good at basketball that a team just had to have him for their baseball team. I'm kidding. He played for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now his career ERA is a 4.27, and that's 10 years in the majors. Now for 10 years, that's not bad. That's not terrible. It could definitely be better. But last year, posting a .86 ERA in 23 appearances, that's damn good, and that's exactly what the Tigers needed. Now, what did they do to make room for this move? Well, they designated Luke Buchanan for assignment, which whatever. It is what it is. I like Luke Buchanan, but they had to make room. And, they need a lefty relief pitcher more than another right-handed pitcher, so, it is what it is. Now, I like Luke Buchanan. I really do. I think he's a good pitcher, but if he gets taken off waivers, then whatever. It is what it is. Alright, let's talk some hockey. The Red Wings ended 2014 with a 3-1 win over the Devils. Yeah, that's right. We went out with a bang. Darren Helm scores twice and Zetterberg scores once. Devils were up 1-0, but it wasn't enough. And the Red Wings won. They got 2 big points. Ballin'. Alright. And then first game of 2015 was against Vancouver this past Saturday night, and they got their asses kicked 4-1. Now, don't go blaming Jimmy Howard for this, which really pisses me off when I see a bunch of Red Wings fans hammering Jimmy Howard for when they lose. Jimmy Howard only gave up 2 goals. He really did. Those other 2, they were empty netters. And the Red Wings just didn't put enough pressure. They had some good chances. And Ryan Miller, man, he just stood on his head this night. Ryan Miller's a great goalie. He really is. He's one of the best goalies in the league as far as I'm concerned. And, he's certainly one of the better, I think he's one of the best American goalies besides Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Quick. And Vancouver just definitely way outplayed Detroit. And they got smoked 4-1. I stopped watching after 3-1. So, yeah, tough loss, but we move on. Last night, the Red Wings went to Edmonton, and I really, really wanted them to win this game because Edmonton is struggling really bad. So I looked at this as an opportunity to snag up 2 easy points. Now, I know I always say don't underestimate your opponent, and I wasn't about to underestimate Edmonton, but I'm thinking the whole time, it's Edmonton. They just fired their coach. They got so much issues going on. They're not a good team. And this is a good chance for Detroit to snatch 2 points. Well, Edmonton took a 1-0 lead. But it's okay, because Detroit snapped out of it, and they went up 2-1. Edmonton tied it. We're getting down to the last few seconds of the third period. There was about 30 seconds left. I'm thinking, we're about to go to overtime with Edmonton. You gotta be kidding me. Nope. Pavel Datsyuk. Bam. Scores a goal, makes it 3-2. Edmonton pulls their goalie. Luke Glendening knocks in an empty netter, and the Red Wings win 4-2. They continue that huge winning streak they have in Edmonton. And because they won this, they continue, along with Nashville, to be the 2 only teams in the NHL this year that have not lost consecutive games in regulation. That's right, the Wings have not lost 2 games in a row. Not in regulation, anyway. If you see 2 losses in a row on their schedule so far this year, one of them is an OTL. Fucking dominant. That deserves a clip. Let's play a clip. You had to know that one was coming eventually. Alright, now I want to get into some NHL news, kind of, sort of. This does involve the Red Wings. Toronto fired Randy Carlyle as a coach yesterday, and we kind of knew that was coming. But now there's all this bullshit speculation that Toronto's going to hire Mike Babcock at the end of the season. Now, people in Detroit are pretty freaked out by this speculation, but Mike Babcock has said it a bunch of times that he's happy in Detroit. He said he'd go year to year if he has to, just like Scotty Bowman did. And, I mean, here's the thing. Why would Mike Babcock leave Detroit, where he's been for the last 10 years? He's had so much success. He's continuing that playoff streak. He won a Stanley Cup. He appeared in the Stanley Cup after. I mean, he's had so much success in Detroit. There's just no way, I believe, that he would leave all that to go to Toronto. I just don't believe it. I'm sorry, but I don't. Now, could it happen? Absolutely. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I'm not worried about it. The Red Wings are an organization that wants to keep winning, and they know letting Mike Babcock go would not be in best interest. So no, I'm not worried about it. It's not for me to really worry about right now. Obviously, Babcock isn't worried about it. He's just focusing on the season, which is probably the right thing to do. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on the season, and I'll let Ken Holland and Mike Babcock work all the contract stuff out. Alright guys, let's talk some Pistons and college basketball. And I have some great news about the Pistons. They beat the Magic 109-86. They beat the Knicks 97-81. They beat the Kings this past Sunday 114-94. And last night they beat the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs, the defending NBA champions, San Antonio Spurs, 105-104.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is huge. This is a winning streak. And you know what? They have not lost a game since they waived Josh Smith. I'm not kidding. This is awesome. I mean, it really just proves that Josh Smith was just kind of poison for the team. He really does have a big mouth. I know, I remember a while ago he was saying stuff about Detroit like, man, all these teammates are holding me back. Now he's in Houston, and I don't know how they're doing. I've heard they're not doing well, but I don't know. I don't really pay attention to what the Rockets do. So, whatever. All I know is the Pistons are kicking ass, and I love it. Keep it up, boys. Alright, last thing I want to get into before I put the question out to everybody. Michigan lost to Purdue 64-51. Oh well. But they beat Penn State, I think a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't remember, but they beat Penn State 73-64. So that's cool. Michigan basketball is kind of up and down. After the two really crappy losses, I wasn't expecting much. But I'll take a win any way I can get it. Alright guys, time for the question of the week. Now, I did go to Twitter kind of last minute yesterday. I wasn't going to put out a question because I just couldn't come up with anything, but in the wake of Randy Carlyle being fired, I was able to put a question out to everybody. Now, I covered my opinion on this, and I put this question out to, the small group of friends that I talk to about Detroit sports and stuff on Twitter. And this may sound a little street, or a little, not casual, or not, it's going to sound a little punkish, but I asked, is anyone else buying into the Babcock to Toronto crap? And that's literally what I said. So let me rephrase that. Do you think Mike Babcock is going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs' next coach? To answer my own question, personally, I say no. I don't think Detroit's going to let Babcock go. And there's another coach, Pittsburgh's old coach. He's sitting there waiting for a phone call. So in my opinion, that should be who Toronto hires. Dan Bilzema, I think. Bilzema, whatever his name is. Something like that. I think I may have pronounced that wrong, and I apologize if I did. That, to me, that'd be a really good coach for them. But Toronto has more than just coaching issues. You look at that roster. Now, they got some talented players on that roster, but even before Randy Carlisle, they always seem to have that half-season meltdown in the second half of the season. They just could not finish the season, even before Randy Carlisle. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe not even Mike Babcock could save him. But no, I don't think Babcock is going to leave Detroit. I think he's had way too much success, and I just don't believe for 1 second that Ken Holland is going to let him go. I only got one answer from my small group of friends, from Emma Lee at MyLime78. She says, I haven't heard about it, but say he will stay with the Wings. I agree, Emma Lee. I agree with that 100%. So that's the question I want to put to you guys, is do you think Mike Babcock will remain in Detroit, or do you think he's going to test the free agent market? Let me know in the comment section, or let me know on Twitter, and I will respond if I can. Well, that brings another edition of Cujo06241 Sports Vlog to a close. Until next time, guys, this is Cujo06241, signing out.